Supervisors, June 4th, 2019. Okay, roll call, please.
Leyland,
Here.
Schwartz. Schwartz,
Here.
Troca,
Here.
White,
Here.
Little.
Here. Okay, would you join us in a moment of silence? Okay, join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to item 1, agenda received as proposed or amended.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments on the agenda? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public comments. Anybody like to speak to the board at this time? It's not a agenda item. Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Item 3, years of service to employees with 20 or more years of service. Helen.
We have two today. From the Conservation Office, James Weimer has 25 years. Is James here? Yep.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Shake your hand. Okay, thank you. Okay.
They'd love to shake your hands as well.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations.
They do a little dance out there, Chip.
No, you don't want me doing that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Hey, Linda. Yes, you bet. Thank you.
And
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
from the Consolidated Communications Department for 20 years of service, Gina Campbell. Congratulations. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay,
Congratulations to you, Gina.
either one of you would like to say anything?
Well, I'm grayer, a lot grayer. And I need bifocals now. So, it's been good 25 years, and I've survived several directors over that time in conservation. I never thought I'd be here this long, but I enjoy my work, so.
Well, we thank you for your service. Would you like to say anything at the podium?
It's been an honor and privilege to work in the dispatch center and work with many fine officers. And Craig White, I wanted to tell you, I really appreciated the work you do, especially with the flags out at the Garden Memory Cemetery. I was actually just this last 2 weekends ago, I guess.
Thank you.
Thank you for your support of the dispatch center all these years.
Thank you for your service. Okay, moving on to item 4, claims and payments, resolution A.
Claims and payments for the county this week are $2,667,338.94. And that includes $2.5 million going to the Department of Transportation's Farm to Market Fund for the Cedar Wapsie Bridge. That number again is 2,667,338.94.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any comments, questions?
2.5 million, exactly, 2,500,000?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Okay, anybody else? Roll call, please.
Ms. Leyland?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Troca?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes. And we don't have anything today for Country View.
There are no Country View claims.
Okay, then. Moving on to item 5, receiving project updates from department heads and/or elected officials. Kathy? Yolando, either one?
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, County Engineer. The gravel roads are slowly improving. We're hoping that we'll get 5 days of 10-hour days, 5 days of continuous 10-hour days in this week. We're hopeful. We think that working these extra hours is really going to make a difference, especially if the rain would start to taper off. Moving on to our paving projects, our construction work, Marquee Road paving is complete, and this is the portion from Raymond Road over to State Highway 281. We do share a majority of this road with Bremer County. So the paving is complete. We do have some, the shoulder rock to be placed, and then, of course, the pavement markings to be placed as well. We're hopeful that that work is done by the end of the week, weather permitting. And then lastly, we are continuing to work on Raymond Road, the Raymond Road overpass at Highway 20, 380 area. That road is barricaded. I would urge the public to please obey all construction signing, all barricades. We did have an individual drive in there over the weekend and severely damaged their car. It caught on fire. We don't know what happened to the individual, or I don't, so we encourage people to just obey our barricades and our construction fencing. It's there for a reason, to protect the public from hurting themselves and their personal property. Can I answer any questions at this time? Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Sheriff?
Good morning.
Morning.
As you are aware, last week we did have a fatality up on one of the gravel roads. I'm here to tell you this morning that the accident investigation indicates that that was not related to roadway conditions. Kathy did come up with, my chief deputy was on scene, took photos of that area. Unfortunately, the neighbors that were in the area also kind of concurred that that was not a contributing factor to that accident. I know you've been getting a lot of calls on the conditions of the gravel roads, but this actually happened in an area that was in relatively good shape. So it was unfortunate. We are stepping up enforcement in that area of 297 or Raymond Road and Highway 20. I see you've got an area that's on your agenda today that we'll continue to put extra enforcement on as well. Hopefully we can get through this construction season without any more accidents in that area. But we echo the concerns of people just need to pay attention and do what they're supposed to do and not what they want to do.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. Okay, well, I guess you are gonna get up.
I'm Yolanda Lovelace, Executive Director of Black Hawk County Veterans Affairs. Hey, some good news is we got some great citizens of Black Hawk County. We recently received another $1,000 donation towards our PTSD memberships, and that was from the motorcycle ride this weekend. The lady just wanted to give to the Veterans Affairs, and then we got another $9,000 grant for the ramps. So the donations are coming in. June's already starting off to be a very successful month for our donations. And we've been really having some great success with our luncheons in the park on Thursdays. It hasn't rained on us yet, and we're getting the numbers that we want. And so just wanted to give you an update on that.
Very good, thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, moving on to item 6, minutes approved for the 28th of May, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on the minutes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Item 7, consent agenda will be made with a single resolution.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Ms. Leyland?
Yes.
Mr. Trocca?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes. Okay, moving on to item 8, reports. This is an update from Ben Delegardelle doing services with Urban Services, Washburn Sanitary Sewer. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to update you for March, April, and a good portion of May, since May is over, but I haven't completed the billing for that yet. But going back to March, we did monitoring the flow in lagoon cells, did this submission of the MOR, that's a monthly operating report to the DNR. Did a pre-drawdown sample prior to our April discharge, so that's to be done 14 days in advance, more than 14 days in advance, so that we receive the result before we begin the discharge. We did some wildlife control on the banks of the lagoon. We also did the quarterly influence sample as required. We test the water that comes into the lagoon, and then that's compared with our discharge results. Basically, our permit has a disinfection, or not a disinfection, I'm sorry, 85%. We're supposed to clean 85% of the contaminants that come in. So to make sure we're achieving that, we do that quarterly influence sample. In March, we had 2 locates and 5 service calls. In April, we had 23 locates, so it was a lot busier month for people digging in that area. I think all across the state or anywhere after it thaws, we get more locates than normal for winter, I guess. But April, we had 5 service calls as well, so maintaining around 5 per month on service calls, which is good. In April, we did the monitoring of flow in lagoons, cell levels, submitted the MOR for March. We started the discharge April 15th, and we did a drawdown sample on the 18th, the third day after the start of the discharge. We did some wildlife control as well in April. Thankfully, that's been a minimum. We've had some busier years, but this year's been pretty good for the wildlife control. Any questions for March and April?
What type of wildlife are you dealing with?
Last year we had a badger. We have some fox that dig for smaller rodents. Streaky or striped gophers is what we get. So when they burrow into the banks of the lagoon, obviously that can become a problem. We have no idea how far they're going, but the fox dig shorter holes to try and get the gophers out. But it's hard to tell sometimes. It was kind of weird to see a badger in the area, but I do know that down by the Hickory Hills area, they're kind of prevalent down there. We don't see a lot of other things other than, I guess, the badger was weird, but the gophers and the fox are basically what we're trying to stop. We may have some voles or other things out there that we don't know exactly what it is when we see a hole, but we try and maintain that lagoon area. If it's out in the area where we don't mow as frequently, don't really worry about those too much, but when they get on the lagoon banks is really concerning. So for May, I'm just going to move on to May here. We did monitor the lagoon cell levels. We will be submitting the MOR to DNR. We started mowing the lagoon area, and then we ended the discharge in May and equalized the lagoons. This spring was one of our heaviest, the lagoon was the largest or most full I've ever seen it, just because of the wet fall and the wet spring. We held the water for 180 days, so it's a full 6-month cycle, and it was quite full. So we're thankful that we were able to equalize the time we did. We will be doing the quarterly influence sample this week as well for the second quarter of 2019. Any questions for May? Okay, I have a couple upcoming projects I wanted to let you know about. They'll both need to be done the next time we discharge and equalize, so that's when our amount of water is the lowest. The riprap near the discharge pipes is becoming infiltrated with silt and sludge in that area, so we need to take off about a foot of riprap and replace that, just get some of that sludge out of the way. What happens is we have a pipe that has a 90 degree, it takes water off of the lagoon. The riprap is starting to come up too close to that area, so then rodents can get in there and hibernate in there. There's just a lot of interference that goes along with having the riprap so close to the pipe. So we'll take some material off of there when the next discharge happens. And then we also have between the lagoons, there are some valves and pipe system to operate the lagoon. The frost and ice has pushed one side of the pipes into the manhole. We need to so the valves are getting closer together inside the manhole. It's about 8 foot around. And so we need to either cut that off and put the valve back closer to the exterior of the manhole, or we were going to try and push it back out, but that's going to be nearly impossible to do because of all the ground pressure and water pressure. So those are 2 projects that will have to happen the next time we discharge and equalize. So just looking forward to those this fall. But any questions on those? Okay. Oh, it's my update. Thank you.
Anybody else got any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Okay, moving on to item 9, contracts and agreements. This is a resolution of best bid received from Waste Management Independence, Iowa, for waste removal services for monthly charge of $1,841.78.
So moved.
Second.
Rory, how long is this contract?
This contract is for Rory Giving, Maintenance Superintendent. This contract is for 3 years, and it does have the caveat of an additional 2-year at the end of that.
Is there any increase from year to year?
No, this 184178 is for the 3-year.
So it's the first 3 years is that price?
Yes.
Okay. Board, any other questions?
We did receive 3 bids total for this.
This was a low bid.
This was the low bid, yes.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Leyland?
Yes.
Mr. Trocca?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz? Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes. Okay, moving on to item B, a resolution, best bid received from Presto X Marion, Iowa for pest control services for a monthly charge of $274. Again, how long is this one?
This is another 3-year contract with the same additional 2 years at the end of that 3-year.
No increases in
No.
between?
No increases. We did receive 5 bids for this service. Presto X, $274.
They're a little bit, obviously.
Yes. Just to give you a quick breakdown, the courthouse is $70. Pinecrest is $70. The jail is $70. Juvenile court services is $32. And the sheriff's training range facility is $32, which the sheriff does pay for that.
I know when I looked at the information too, I saw like the conservation building isn't included in that, just to say, is there a reason for that, or
I'm sorry, what?
conservation? Their building isn't included in this?
No, they are not.
So if they do it separately, I assume when they're, okay.
What pests are we controlling? Rodents mainly?
Yeah, I mean, we've had services in here, give you the courthouse for an example, ants. We've even had a situation where we had bed bugs where we've had to call on them. That's a kind of a above and beyond what their normal service is. But they keep a logbook of any catches, whether it's rodents, mice, what have you. But they're kind of their monthly service includes checking those traps, keeping that log together, but then anything, like I said, outside of that, we call on them for those services if need to be.
Any,
Reasonable.
any badgers?
That might be more of a conservation question.
Okay, anything else, board? Roll call, please.
I need a,
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. White?
Yes.
Ms. Leyland?
Yes.
Mr. Trocca?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz? Mr. Little?
Yes. Okay, moving on to item C, this is a resolution of best bid received from Service Roofing, Waterloo, Iowa, for roof repairs at Pinecrest Facility, $4,900. This was the emergency one?
This is an emergency repair. We're suspecting that this damage was a result of ice this winter. This is approximately 185 square foot section of the rubber membrane roof. We're actually going to pull the damaged rubber off. We suspect that the underlayment is also damaged, so that would also get replaced at that time.
So it's not fixed yet?
No, this is basically our request for approval to move forward with that. I do want to also mention along with that, this just takes care of the external portion of the roof. We do have some internal damage in the stairwell underneath this that we'll be looking at costs for that repair as well.
We'll do that within house.
We're looking at that option, yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Trocca?
Yes.
Ms. Leyland?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes. Okay, item D is a resolution of the substantial completion for the first floor Pinecrest restroom remodel project. It was awarded back in 2/5/19, is received from AHST Cook Construction, be approved.
So moved.
Second.
What do you got on this one, Rory?
This is just a simple substantial completion. The restrooms are, if you haven't been over there, I do recommend that you stop in there when you visit Pinecrest. I believe they turned out very nice. We met the goal of trying to make these restrooms pretty resilient. We've had some issues in the past with these restrooms with some vandalism, so when we remodeled these, we took that into account. All of the fixtures underneath the sinks, the urinals, they all have protective coverings on them, so it's a pretty resilient floor. It's kind of a monolithic type style of floor. The partitions that are in there are partitions that we installed in-house a few years back, so we were able to repurpose those. So I think as far as the restrooms are concerned, they turned out very nice.
Okay. Anybody else, board? Do we have a motion on this one? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Trocca?
Yes.
Ms. Leyland?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes. Okay, moving on to item 10, other business. Item A is a resolution of taxes due and payable submitted persons as indicated. This includes special assessments, rates, charges, interest, fees, and costs. This is in accordance with Iowa Code 427.9.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Trocca?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Ms. Leyland?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes. Item B is a resolution, a 90-day embargo authorizing weight restrictions of vehicles to be operated in Blackhawk County is provided under and listed as I'm assuming some codes of Iowa effective May 24th, 2019 for 90 days. This is on Young Road, Berlin Drive between Raymond, Gilbertville Road, for a limit of 10 tons. Kathy, you want to talk a little bit about this one?
Sure. So this is a result of that, the overpass reconstruction work on Raymond Road. So if you're familiar with Young Road, it parallels Highway 20. This is a natural detour for a lot of traffic, a lot of truck traffic to go between Raymond Road and then out to the Plaza Drive area. We do have a seal coat in the Raymar edition, so that Birdland Drive, that's county, seal coated by the county. We would like to protect that seal coat just as we have 3 or 4 miles of other seal coated roads this spring just due to the frost boils. In this case, we want to protect it just from extra traffic due to the construction project, so we're asking for a 90-day embargo. We will remove it once the project is done. We do anticipate the project being at least 6 to 8 more weeks. So
Okay. Anybody else?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Leyland?
Yes.
Mr. Trocca?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes. We got item C, resolution emergency repair for Pinecrest fifth floor, AC unit repaired, $4,314. Is this one done already?
Okay, I've got to make a clarification. I misspoke on the roof repairs that we spoke about earlier. Those were not a emergency repair. We
It's
did
this
take
one
those
that
out
you
for bid.
emailed the board on.
Had the two projects mixed up, so
Is this-
apologize for
Is
that.
this one completed?
This one, we are, they started on Friday. We're wrapping it up today, so.
So moved.
This was a 5-ton compressor that needed to be replaced.
Yep.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. Trocca?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz? Mr. Schwartz?
Yes.
Ms. Leyland?
Yes.
Mr. Little?
Yes. Item D is a resolution that the amendment number 1 to Blackhawk County Secondary Roads fiscal year 2025 year program, which changed the funding source of bridge project on number 1606 Kimball Avenue. Kathy, it's just an amendment is what we're doing.
Right, this is just a paperwork exercise. We're not changing any
Yeah.
funding amounts. It's just the type of funding that we are receiving will be federal bridge money. And due to federal highway requirements, we need to be fiscally constrained. The Intercog, when they submit the 5-year plan, all the money has to be accounted for. So that's why we needed to change the type of funding we are receiving.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Ms. Leyland?
Yes.
Mr. Trocca?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz?
I think he
Did we
timed,
lose
ran
him?
out
I
of
think he
time.
timed out.
That's
Mr.
it,
Little.
bye-bye. Yes. Okay, that's the end of our regular business. Is there any reports or information from the board at this time?
Just to remind all the citizens out there, of Thursday is the 75th anniversary of D-Day, and there's still a few of the greatest generation out there. We need to thank them and try to follow in their footsteps on some of the things they did to keep this country the way it was. So I want to thank them, whatever ones are left out there, and pray for the ones that have died serving their country.
Anybody else?
I did want to let the board know on Friday, I talked to Andrew DeHaan, which was the ISIT group that was going to do, was interested in doing the assessment for our IT, or the board was interested in that. They had mentioned, I know in an email previously, that it would be maybe late fall. And I know we were a little disappointed at the timing of that, but in talking to him, he thought it might be more like August. And he said in the next 30 days, he would get a statement of work to the board. He said what was important to them before proceeding is making sure that they had board support for what they were doing, and they would come in with a team and stay 2 days typically and do their assessment. I did ask him, because I noticed that Blackhawk County would be the largest county that they've done, and he acknowledged that yes, for this particular project, they would probably bring in a team of 8 people, which is larger than their normal, and said, you know, our needs probably and the issues for us are probably quite different than some of the ones they've had, but he felt very confident that they could come in and assist us. He mentioned too, the cost would be for the meals, the travel, and the hotel expenses, but they would stay just the one night. Typically, they come in, I think, early in the morning, meet with the board probably first, and then go out and meet with the staff and work with the IT director and doing that type of thing. And then at the end of the second day, before they would head out, they would meet with us again just to kind of do a wrap-up. But then they would go back and do a 2-week, probably 2 to 3 weeks, review the data that they had taken from the assessment, and then come back and maybe 3 or 4 of them do a final report to the board. So
It's
just wanted to
important
make
that the board gives input on that too, so they know.
Yes, I think that was what they were trying to
what
start
it
out
is.
with.
So when you see that email coming or whatever way, make sure you respond to it.
All right.
Okay, anybody else? I got anything? That I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.